So I'm Joe CaraDonna. I'm the Cloud CTO for the storage division here at Dell Technologies. And I'm joined here by my colleague, Geeta. Geeta, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Joe. Hi, folks. I'm Geeta Vaghela. I am Director of Product Management focused on cloud storage. I'm really excited and humbled to be here today.
All right, and we're here to talk to you, as Stephen said, about cloud. So let's get into it. But first, I want to talk about data. Whether you're talking about, on-prem or cloud or even hybrid, conversation always comes back to the data. And we've entered that next data decade. This tsunami of data is coming at us, and it's being generated from a lot of different sources, whether it's the connected vehicles, genomic research, media and entertainment with video processing and editing, video surveillance, our smartphones, our appliances. Just the other day, and this is not a contrived example, I got an email from LG telling me that my oven preheat cycle is taking too long and it might have to get serviced. So, they're data mining my oven, right? I think we all know data is growing. It's growing at a rapid rate. Data is also very distributed, whether it's in our data centers or cross data centers at the core, or even at the edge. And sometimes we refer to the edge as the fog, because even at the edge, it's so highly distributed in of itself. And then, of course, public cloud and across clouds. In addition to that, data is very dynamic, right? We're dealing with more and more real-time streaming data sources. And these data-centric applications are emerging for data science, data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And it's all these things that's really causing our customers to modernize their infrastructure so they can take advantage of the various locations of where they want to, where the data lives, whether it's cloud, core, even at the edge. And also modernize their applications so they can take advantage of the data. So with that as a backdrop, we're gonna walk into our cloud storage vision. And, what we're setting out to do with this is really, enable these data-centric hybrid cloud use cases. And it start our core competency, right? In the left-hand side of this diagram, you'll see storage endpoints. And through this whole event, you've been hearing about the Power Portfolio. Well, there it is, right? There's our storage arrays and our storage endpoints to come in various form factors, whether it's, purpose-built hardware or software-defined. And what we've been doing over the past couple of years is bringing that technology, those endpoints, to the public cloud in various forms. And Geeta and I are both going to talk to you about that as we get deeper into this presentation. But the goal here is to enable, the applications and the data to be able to move, from one environment to another. Because hybrid cloud, it's the end state, right? We're well aware, some applications are going to move to the cloud and they're going to stay there. And that's fine. We're going to enable those applications. And some applications are going to stay on-prem. And of course, over time, they're going to move, and they're going to move based on, very dynamic, whether it's application lifecycle requirements or even requirements around the data or the business. So that data mobility and application mobility across these environments are critical. And the kind of use cases we're looking to open up are, these high performance computing use cases, whether it's in data science and analytics, all the way down to things like life science genomic sequencing to content editing and distribution. It's just a wide range of use cases. Now, looking back at the diagram here, the next layer up, infrastructure management. Now that you have these endpoints in these various locations, in data centers across clouds, have a common way to manage that. And we're going to touch more on these later. Layer above that, data set management. And here we're not talking about, you have a volume of data and you're moving a volume of data from point A to point B or copying a volume. It's finer grained than that. It's more about the data sets, more about the files and the objects themselves. Getting down to that level of granularity with metadata and be able to search upon combinations of those assets to form a data set and operate on that data set. And then last but not least is the application management and orchestration, to be able to move virtual machines and the applications seamlessly across environments and containerized applications as well. And it's a lot of work that we do with VMware, where for us it's table stakes. We've been doing it for years, going deep with VMware and data center, as well as with VMware in the cloud. For the purposes of this presentation, we're gonna focus primarily on the data side of that equation as we move forward.
Where does this is the cloud storage vision. How does this roll up to the Dell Technologies cloud story?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So with Dell, the way we've been thinking about this is we're bringing the best of on-prem to the cloud. We're also bringing the best of the cloud to on-prem. So for here, when we're talking about these storage endpoints, is bringing our storage IP, to the cloud. The idea of bringing the best of the cloud to on-prem is basically changing the way that we make our systems consumable, both in terms of ease of use and how you pay for it, right? With a subscription kind of pay-as-you-go kinds of models. And with the Dell Technologies cloud, we're putting a lot of effort into that for the on-prem consumption model and ease of use there. And we'll be expanding that as well to get into provisioning of some of our cloud resources as well, public cloud resources. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this one. And this slide here, this is actually saying a lot. And I'm going to break it down for you. But I want to start with this. I want to peel back the curtain here and give you guys an inside perspective that we haven't talked about publicly before. But I think it's relevant in the context of the power portfolio and what it really means to us, Dell Technologies, how we're thinking differently about our products, how we're thinking differently how we build them, and ultimately how we're innovating faster and bringing value to our customers. So it starts with the structure of the organization itself. In the past, every one of our products had their own business unit. And you can imagine with a model like that there are inefficiencies in the engineering and in the processes. There's sometimes competition across the products within our own portfolio. And it made it really hard to bring these portfolio level solutions to bear. And that was then, this is now, and I would say about 2+ years ago is when we reorganized the entire company to where we have a single storage division. So one engineering team, one product management team, one CTO office. And once you start to do that, then you can break down your own internal silos, our own silos, right? And it opens up new possibilities on how we can share our IP, our best of breed technologies across the portfolio in places where it makes sense. And I'm talking about it in the context here because this vision before you here is only possible because we're able to do that. We started our journey 2 years ago, and you're already starting to see the fruits of that labor with all the announcements that we've been making, not only at this event, but over the past 60 days. So I wanted to share some concrete examples with you, because these are things that you're not going to see in a press release. These are all things that happen behind the scenes that enable us to build the capabilities we're setting out to build. So first one I want to highlight, we've taken the Unity file system, right? That's battle hardened and has been in the field for years. And we've decoupled that from Unity and we've modularized it and containerized it. So we have a modularized file system that we can share across the portfolio. And in fact, it's in PowerStore today. So it's embedded in PowerStore out the gate. We're bringing it to PowerMax next. And then we're going to bring it to PowerFlex. So a common file system across those products. That's one example. Another one is we're taking the replication engine from OneFS, the operating system of Isilon and PowerScale. And we're taking the next generation of that SyncIQ, and we're bringing that to PowerStore, PowerMax, and PowerFlex. Now, what that lets you do now is you can start to move files and objects across the portfolio, not just PowerScale and PowerFlex, but also to ECS, also to Object Store in the public cloud. So that green circle you see in the middle there, that data mobility, is being enabled by these kind of technologies that we're bringing together. right? And you can also start to imagine, well, how does this benefit the customer? Well, for one, it makes our engineering more efficient. And once we add a feature to that file system, well, all of our customers that have the variety of these products get that feature and they get it faster.
Joe, I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
So with this kind of model, looks like moving workloads that are already on your on-premises data center to the cloud. I mean, it's like the collocation and everything. I mean, I have something that works that way in my data center when the same identical experience in the cloud. So this is why maybe I'm okay with a co-located PowerMax, the same performance, the same user experience, everything. But most of the customers don't want to move, the infrastructure. They want to move the data and have a 100% cloud experience, which is totally different. I mean, so maybe I want to replicate my data in the cloud, but I want to access it in a native way and much more flexible way, let's say it. So how do you respond to this kind of need from?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, our customers that want to move to the applications of the cloud don't want to manage infrastructure. And in fact, even with any of our solutions, and Geeta and I are going to go into more detail on that, we alleviate them from the responsibility of managing the storage and more about just using it, right? And then a common thing you need across these things is that data mobility in a very efficient way. You want to be able to manage the data in a common way. And that's why we're bringing these higher level capabilities like data set management into the picture. But I'll say we'll go into more detail on that one as we go into these offerings. But thank you for the question. So I wanted just to continue a little bit about some of the technology sharing, then I'll get more into the cloud side of this equation. We have an appliance called the Cloud Tiering Appliance, and it's appliance for tiering files and snapshots to the cloud, which in that appliance it's an operating system of software. We've decoupled that as well, and we're bringing that tiering capability to both PowerStore and PowerMax. We don't have that today, but we're building it today. And as you see across the top here, when we talk about infrastructure management, sharing the capabilities across the portfolio. CloudIQ is what we're using for infrastructure monitoring, reporting, and expanding into management as well. We'll talk about that in more detail. And then for data set management, which has been recently announced, is DataIQ for being able to visualize all the data within your systems, regardless of where they are, regardless whether it's our systems, the cloud, or third-party systems. It could catalog all that data. So, all right, but I did want to touch on that because when we talk power portfolio and what it means, to us, it's not just about changing names of products. It goes much deeper than that. It's about how we fundamentally change the way we think about our products and build them.
Joe, I'd like to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Everything you said so far seems to be file-based. So we're saying that we won't do any migration of data in any other format other than unstructured at this point. So we're not going to move blocks or LUNs around for Kubernetes or container environments. It's all going to be file-based.
Well, yeah. So no, it won't all be file-based. It's true. I was talking a lot about unstructured data. For block-to-block transport, we're going to stick with within the system, within the family. So from like PowerMax to PowerMax, PowerStore to PowerStore, and you can see we offer those arrays as services in the cloud. And in addition to that, when I was talking about the tiering capabilities, it's not only for tiering files, it's also for tiering block snapshots as well. And you could tier those to the public cloud or to ECS. And then once it's tiered to the public cloud, we're going to enable rehydration of that data in the cloud as well.
Okay, just to follow up on that. Obviously, one of the things you said was the idea of lifting the Unity file system out and making it globally available, so it could sit on other platforms, and therefore you could make the data globally available on different platforms. But then you've just said that PowerMax PowerStore would be family to family, so you wouldn't necessarily say, here's a LUN that was running on a PowerMax and I'll now lift it, place it on a PowerStore or PowerScale system. Do you envisage that that's the way it might eventually go, that this will be totally ubiquitous at the block level?
Yes, we are. So when it comes to cloud snapshot shipping, we're going to allow for snapshot shipping from, say, PowerMax to the cloud, and then you can even do a snapshot restore from there to your PowerStore. So that's one method that we're enabling. Then the other is, direct from a PowerMax to a PowerStore. Yes, so we're absolutely going to allow LUN migration.